Hey everybody, this is Crystal Proxmire from Oakland County Times, and we're here today with Ren Nushaj, who is running for state senate in the ninth district. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks, Crystal. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Can you just tell us why you've decided to run?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. People like me aren't supposed to run for office. I wasn't born into wealth or connections. My father worked at a factory in Warren until his retirement, and my mother worked at a childcare in Warren as well. And growing up, I worked every job out there, put myself through school. I waited tables, I worked construction, I worked at a pizza store. And after I graduated from college, I worked for Senator Carl Levin. I worked for Freedom House as well as our local courthouse. Here in my community, I'm an organizer and an activist. And as an attorney, as you can imagine, I've worked every job out there. I've worked both as a prosecutor protecting victims, as well as a public defender defending those who didn't have the means to defend themselves. But after decades of representation from the same tired political class and seeing the changes that our community and our state and our country, frankly, have gone and undergone, I started to ask myself a question, which is, who's been benefiting from all these changes? And the truth of the matter is that these changes haven't been for us. Every day it gets harder for working families like ours. The bills are obviously astronomical. Insurance companies fight us and collect more and more, and the paychecks remain the same. I think we deserve, and our families deserve, a Michigan that they can recognize and can afford. And for that, we need fighters. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm running for state senate.
What are some of those things that you'd like to work on if you're elected?
Sure. Thank you. I think I want to fight for a Michigan, like I said, that working families can actually afford. And I believe it starts with wages that people can live on, indexed to inflation. So families, our families, can never fall behind. And it means protecting the right to organize. I also think it means funding our public schools instead of defunding them and opening up tuition-free paths through whether it be community college or the skilled trades. It means, in my mind, treating healthcare like the human right that it is. I would want Medicare for all, but in Michigan, in the meantime, I think what that means is protecting the Healthy Michigan Plan or capping the cost of insulin and prescription drugs and holding drug companies accountable when they gouge our people. I think these aren't favors that the rich and powerful hand down to us. These are our rights, and the job of a state senator is to fight for them. Um, Also, I think one of the first things, and this comes from my experience, that I would work on is to make the legislature subject to the Freedom of Information Act. As you know, Crystal, all cities are subject to Freedom of Information Act. And what it does is it enables transparent government. Uh, it's long overdue in Michigan. I would say that there's a lot of things that we need to do as well above and beyond that, but I would say that we also need to fix revenue sharing once and for all. Uh, Living in our cities as we do, we get to pay taxes for the benefit of parking our homes here, and some of that money is supposed to come back to us by way of revenue sharing from the state. But as you know, it hasn't worked as it should for decades now. And the result is this reality in which we live in, where we pay for the roads, we pay for the schools, and all the other incidents of government, and yet very little is delivered. So every time we have to fix a pothole in our communities or improve a community asset, such as a library or a school, we're asked to pass a new millage which is an increase on our taxes. And I think it adds to this affordability crisis that we're experiencing. And frankly, it also adds to a sense of distrust of government, and we must address that as elected legislative leaders throughout the state.
Can you talk a little bit more about your professional experience and some of the skills that you bring to the table?
Sure. No, I graduated with majors in history and political science. After college, as I indicated earlier, I worked for Senator Carl Levin in Washington, D.C., as well as for Freedom House in Detroit. I worked as a judicial clerk at the 52nd District Court. And for about the last 16 years, I've been a practicing attorney. For the last decade of that, I've served as the city attorney and prosecutor for the city of Clawson. And I think that work is exactly the skill set that this job demands. As a prosecutor, my whole job is public safety and standing up for people. As a city attorney, I sit in very boring council meetings, budgets, the ordinances, the zoning fights, and sort of that unglamorous machinery of how local government actually serves people or, well, sometimes fails them. So I know how laws are written because frankly, I write them. And I know where they break down and how to fight for them line by line. Additionally, I'm a licensed real estate broker as well as certified domestic relations mediator. I am the managing partner of the Troy Law Center, which is my law firm. It's a general practice litigation firm where I handle a variety of cases in variety areas of law, such as civil matters, criminal law, family law, immigration law, as well as an array of administrative actions. So by profession, I'm someone who's steeped in conflict every single day, and obviously I don't flinch from it. That's just the job. And I think in Lansing, we don't need someone doesn't need someone that just wants to make friends. It needs someone that knows how to, get into the arguments on behalf of the people that send them there. And having spent my entire career doing that in courtrooms, I think I'm ready to do it in our state Senate. I should add, Crystal, this occurs to me. I'm also a yoga instructor. So when one looks at me, it doesn't necessarily get that sense from a 6'5", 260-pound guy. It doesn't necessarily, suggest yoga, but I'll surprise you. So if my opponents think that running against me is tough, they should try yoga,
What are some of the ways that you've been involved in the community?
Sure. Thank you. I'm the chair of the Troy Democratic Club. I'm also the chair of the nonprofit. This is my pride and joy, my nonprofit organization, the Michigan Tree Initiative. And our sole goal with the Michigan Tree Initiative is to plant trees in our community. And we've planted over 250 of them throughout the several years that it's been around. I'm a member of the Rotary Club. I'm, of course, involved in a lot of state bar organizations such as the Oakland County Bar Association, the ABA, and the like. I'm a frequent presenter in legal and civic organizations. I've done a lot of these Know Your Right presentations across the community. I'm also a member and the attorney for the Balkan American Community Center for over 2 decades now, which matters in a district as diverse as ours. And then, of course, I've done this work for years, long before I was a candidate, because obviously I believe that public service is a calling.
So in this race, there are a few people running for this position. Why should the voters pick you?
So thank you for that question. That's awesome. I think this race comes down to people versus the establishment. And I think we've got the people, and the others in this race have the special interests and corporate money. And I think I'll say plainly what a lot of us feel, that not every Democrat is the same. And someone that is bankrolled by corporate PACs and utility companies, who answers to donors instead of our neighbors, who's never had a sweat for the people they claim to represent, I don't think that they can represent us either. I've never personally taken any corporate or utility money, and I never will. Beyond that, I'm also the only candidate in this race who is an attorney. And I think that experience, in my mind, cannot be replicated because it's precisely what the job requires. This is our legislature. It's the place where we pass laws. And as you may know, Crystal, in our state Senate, we have 38 senators and there's only one attorney. I always say this, I don't think we need too many attorneys, perhaps, but certainly one is not sufficient. And I think if I'm wrong, and if people believe that everything is fine in this state and that we should want more of the same, well, I'm just not your guy. I'm not your candidate. But if you feel as I do, if you believe that we need people who can actually fight, who want a better Michigan, living wages, jobs with union protections, universal health care, because I believe that's a human right, fully funded public schools and tuition-free public colleges, and an environment that we protect by way of moratoriums for data centers. I think we can have all of that. And these aren't, in my mind, favors that the powerful hand down to us. There are rights, and I know one thing, if I know one thing, is rights, and I think what we have to do is fight for them. It takes more than just political courage. I think it takes someone that knows how to fight, who has been fighting. It takes someone who is not beholden to lobbyists or special interests or the establishment for that matter. And I think that's who and how we can get this done, because I think that Michigan is possible. We just have to do it. And that's why I'm here. I think it's time for someone like me.
If voters want more information about you and your campaign, where can they go?
The best place is probably my website. It's ren number 4 misenate.com. and you'll find out all the information you could possibly want, obviously, in there. We also have every flavor of social media you could ever desire, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and perhaps a slew of others that I'm barely aware of. But and as you can imagine, you don't necessarily, if you don't get enough of your fill from all that, which I would love for you to go and check it out. You can rest assured that we're going to be coming and knocking on your door soon if we haven't already, because we have a wonderful team, and I'm out there knocking on doors. They're out there knocking on doors, and odds are I'm at every event as you can imagine, and odds are we're going to be somewhere where you're going to be next. And I'd love to talk to you and love to tell you more about this.
Perfect. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much, Crystal. This has been a joy and a pleasure.